my cabinet colleague, the Honorable Terence Delsing, our Minister of Health, my other cabinet colleague, the Honorable Simon de Nobrega, Minister of Communications and Member of Parliament for Diego Martin Central, Ms. Lisa Agard, Chairman of the Northwest Regional Health Authority, Mr. Sigler Jack, Chairman of the Diego Martin Corporation, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of the Urban Development Corporation, UDCOT, other members of staff and management of UDCOT, specially invited guests, the contractor, Mr. Roger Vieira, representing the team of citizens who built this facility, members of the media, thank you very much for coming out in your numbers to communicate with the population of Diego Martin, who under normal circumstances would have been here by the hundreds today, if only to express their gratitude and to demonstrate their patience in waiting for a facility of this nature. When you come from St. Joseph and you come to Diego Martin, you believe that MPs fight among themselves. But there's something to be learned in Diego Martin, and that there's one Diego Martin in and out of the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. The Election and Boundaries Commission, under a formula that is in the Constitution, that says that you put some boundary lines separating numbers of people, approximately equal numbers, Diego Martin West, Diego Martin Central, Diego Martin Northeast. But these boundaries tend to move depending on how the population grows back and forth. For example, the Diego Martin Main Road is the unnoticed line between Diego Martin West and Diego Martin Central. But the people who live here in the valley, they don't see that boundary. And of course, on the highway, across the highway, you have Diego Martin Central. But as we look as MPs to service the Diego Martin area, we cooperate and represent each other along the way. And it is good that we do that. Otherwise, today I could not have here been claiming this facility for Diego Martin West. Because we've just stepped across the road from the old facility on the western side of the main road, and the new facility is built on the eastern side of the main road. Had there been a real physical boundary, I would never have done what I did. Because, you know, this piece of land was earmarked for this facility for a fairly long time. And it is said that MPs don't go back to the communities after election. That's not true. Many of us spend a lot of time circulating in our constituencies. And I knew that this facility was earmarked for a health facility. And I was passing here one day, and I saw the facility being occupied and being used by somebody else, authorized so to do. And I went back very quickly to my office, and I called the minister and asked him just what is going on. Because if we allow this to happen, then the people of Diego Martin may never for a very long time, or ever at all, get the kind of facility that the MPs, including myself, anticipate that they should have as we progress the health system and its delivery in the community. Fortunately, we were able to stop what was going on and get to where we should be going, which was to earmark the site for its original purpose. And that was an impetus. Having almost lost the site, that impetus to get on with it ended up where we are today, because we got to designing the facility, and there were some people who felt that the site was too small for a health center, given what we really wanted and what we spoke about. And something was designed which didn't meet our satisfaction. And we had a bit of a delay, and we had it redesigned, because if you don't have enough land on the ground, then there's enough space in the air. And then the new design became a two-story building, which you'll see this evening as a very functional and extremely well laid out facility for Diego Martin. And that is how we ended up claiming the site and designing it in this way. But as Lisa was speaking a while ago, I had to go back to my childhood as to how we as a people have progressed on this issue of health care. I remember living in a village in Tobago in Mason Hall, and health care to that population, very much like the Diego Martin Valley population, was a druggist, you still have that term? A druggist coming once a week with a box of brown bottles with liquids of all different colors, and a nurse who would get there before and sometimes remain after, and a doctor who may or may not turn up depending on what's happening in the hospital. That was the sum total of community health care when I was a boy. But then when the facility was built here in Diego Martin, the one that we are moving away from now, that would become the extension of the mental health facilities, that was a groundbreaking facility. It was a modernized facility and so on. But today, given the progress that we have made, that facility had been obsolete for quite some while, antiquated, and we are extremely pleased. So on behalf of all the people of Diego Martin, from North Post, Bagatelle, everywhere else around in Diego Martin Valley, all the way around, and this valley where there are tens of thousands of people, today, even though they're not here, as their representatives, Simon Denobberger and myself, we represent them and say thank you to all those of you who have been behind the completion of the vision and the completion of the construction of this facility. This facility is probably one of the best in the country. We waited long for it, but it was worth the wait. I mean, imagine talking about negative pressure and positive pressure, meaning that we do have facilities to treat with eventualities that at the time were not commonplace. But we are being warned today by the experts that this kind of situation could become more frequent and would be required to be responded to. And if it ever becomes required, Diego Martin is ready and prepared to treat with community challenges like the spread of viruses and so on. And to have that in a community health center is really a credit to the people who design our facilities going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to thank Lisa Agard and her board for doing what we all should be doing for ourselves, but what they do for us, which is to volunteer to be a part of national development in a way that goes unnoticed. When you ask people to serve on a board, you're really asking them to take responsibility for serious activities. And it usually is very easy to say no because you're too busy, or worse, you don't want to account to the Integrity Commission, or that it is not my business. Very many people take those positions. But for those persons who agree to serve on boards of state entities, they really need to be recognized for what they do. And in particular, those who do it with the kind of passion that Lisa Agard and Noel Garcia do it with. And I want to congratulate and thank them and their boards. As Prime Minister, I have had the opportunity to be involved in a number of these, either sod turning or taking possession of completed facilities. And even before I was Prime Minister, as MP, when the Carnage Center was opened or was constructed and eventually it was completed before I became Prime Minister, Mr. Vera was the head of the contractor. You were the contractor, right? And the Carnage Center, which is also a fine facility. And these are facilities that we take for granted. But we shouldn't. Only yesterday, we had the presentation of the national budget by the Minister of Finance in what is, in effect, a very difficult period. That difficulty is not a difficulty of the last month or the last year, we have been in difficulty for quite some time. But even as we have been in difficulty, we have always identified in Trinidad and Tobago health as a priority for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Governments over the years have always given health that attention. And that is why we do have in Trinidad and Tobago today one of the best healthcare systems in the world in a small developing country. And our people take it for granted. And of course, they use the word free. It is not free. You may not have to pay for all the services, but the services have to be paid for. And that is what your taxes go towards. Pay for the facilities. This one is 45 million, 49 million. Has to be paid for, $49 million worth of physical infrastructure and equipment inside. But then you have to pay for the staff that is here to receive you when you come with your complaints. And of course, the quality of life that you enjoy can only be had if those expenses are paid. And even if we are not going through the best of times, that commitment to health care, where it is believed genuinely in this country that our health is our wealth. If you look at what the Minister of Finance has done yesterday in apportioning whatever we have available to us now in a reduced budget, you will see health as the number 2 item on the list. And it has been so for as long as I can remember. And number 1 usually is education, where we commit to our children. And of course, number 2 usually is health. And even as we were looking forward to a bleak near term, because there were not the funds available as we had been accustomed to during the mid-80s, we committed to that health. And that is why today I can tell you that this facility doesn't stand alone in the country. In 2015, we completed and took delivery of the Couva Hospital, which is now very much involved in our healthcare delivery in the system that we've created, the parallel healthcare system, to deal with a COVID that nobody knew what it was. Nobody ever knew about or even thought of having to respond to a pandemic when we were planning our future in the last 10 years or so. So we completed in 2015, in 2016 actually. It was 2016 that we completed it, in July 2016, we completed the Couva Hospital and brought it into operation later on. But then we didn't stop there, because the healthcare that we are committing to is not for the privileged few in the swanky urban streets of the country. It's for all the people wherever you are, because the vision is that wherever you are, wherever a child or a pregnant woman is in this country, healthcare of a certain standard ought to be available to you. So everybody in this country can look forward to it. It wasn't always so. But it's getting to the point where virtually everybody in the country can lay claim to access to very modern and complete range of health services. So after Couva, we committed to ARIMA, and we found the resources. We started the construction, and a few months ago, we took delivery of ARIMA Community Hospital, which again we say is probably one of the best in the country. And at the same time, in that difficult financial period, we committed to Point Fortin in the Southwest Peninsula. We found the resources and we initiated the construction, and not too long ago we took delivery of a similar facility in Point Fortin. As I speak to you now, there are 3 major facilities under construction, which the Minister of Finance has to keep his eye on to ensure that they come to completion, because we have to find the resources, and resources are extremely difficult to have now, but we are committed. In Sangre Grande, in the northeast corner of the country, there's a facility under construction, well underway, and in Tobago, in a matter of a month or 2, we will take delivery in Roxborough of the Roxborough Hospital, which would be one of the smaller ones in the country, but it would be also one of the more exciting ones, where we bring the best healthcare to a rural area in the country, in the far part of Tobago. And in Port of Spain, how many of you felt the earthquake a couple of days ago? Yeah. It was an earthquake again, 4.7. It was resolved a little lower later on because you noticed it didn't last as long as the other one, but it was quite a punch. And I was almost in the same place when it happened, but I was satisfied that we're no longer going to be living in dread of the collapse of the Port of Spain main tower, because alongside the other hospitals which are being constructed outside of the capital city, in the capital city, we have under construction now the 540-bed hospital, which will replace the one that had been condemned. That tower had been condemned by the engineers in 2009. We are constructing a new replacement, so as the earthquakes come, we feel safer, and we are remaining committed. This is a good time for me to join the minister in thanking our healthcare givers across the country, particularly those who have been engaged in the treatment and management and care of persons who sought special attention during this pandemic. I know that in Trinidad and Tobago, we are taking the term pandemic as a normal term. It's a frightening term. If you look at history, wherever pandemics and whenever pandemics occur, the outcome has always been very bad. In Trinidad and Tobago, it is not good, but it is not as awful as it could have been, because we had made some commitments in healthcare delivery a long time ago. We had committed to ensuring that our people have healthcare, and it is that commitment which allowed us, having been informed of the coming of this pandemic, that when it came, that we were able to respond in the way that we have and reduce and minimize the effect of a virus which could have been so much worse in our national community. We are a long way from having it behind us, but it continues to be with us. But we as a people continue to respond in a way that has been admired by many others. We are a very small population, 1.4 million people, and our response has been bigger than the size worldwide. And we have committed to doing this, not on the day when the virus came to us. Because you don't build a fire brigade when the fire starts. You have to do that before, if the fire brigade is going to be of any use to you. And in healthcare, we in Trinidad and Tobago, that investment that we've made over the years have come to our service now. And not just investment in buildings, because these buildings by themselves, they don't deliver healthcare. It is the trained people, the highly trained people who work within these walls. They're the ones that give the healthcare. The people of all ranges, from the doctors all the way down to the people who clean the floors and the walls in the hospital, they give healthcare, and we must acknowledge them and thank them for that. We would love to give them a whole lot more than they have now, but we can give them only what we can afford. But they will understand that they too are privileged, because the training that they receive and the position that they've held, the rest of the national community, in saying thanks to them, also would have done something for them as professionals and as persons who come out in the morning, go to a place of work, knowing that there's a job there for them, and we intend to preserve those jobs, and we have not reduced any of that. As a matter of fact, my colleagues in the cabinet will tell you, every Thursday we keep increasing the numbers by hiring this person and hiring that person, because the government is providing so much service in the country that you always have to be hiring a person here or a person there. But on this occasion, you would have heard the Minister of Finance say yesterday, because of the straitened circumstances, one of the decisions that we've taken is that we will freeze vacant posts in the system so as to be able to not commit ourselves today to spending money on those vacant posts. As Prime Minister, I have no doubt that the next cabinet note I will see is one that will be a pleading with the cabinet to vary that position so that we can hire this very important person in the health system. Because we don't make these decisions capriciously. Because while we have said that we've frozen all the posts, and I want permanent secretaries to understand that and believe that, but there may be emergency situations where specialist skills might be required under exigencies that we do not now know. And in that case, the cabinet will have to then say, well, we exhale on this one, but we still maintain the position of a freeze for the year. And that's how the country is run. We rise to the occasion as the occasion demands. So today in Diego Martin, you would have joined Arima, you would have joined Point Fortin, you would have joined Couva in having here what is called the Diego Martin Health Center. But understand that in very many countries in our region, this facility is not a health center. This is a hospital. This is a hospital. It might not have all the services that the best hospital has in Trinidad and Tobago, but it certainly has far more services available than a health center would ever have had in the first go-around in the provision of health centers in this country. Where else do you get dental services? Dental services in a health center in Diego Martin. So we call it the Diego Martin Health Center because we didn't really want to upset the people who think that they have a hospital and Diego Martin have a health center. But we know how to build a health center like a hospital. So this facility is going to be fully utilized. I can guarantee you that, Lisa and your team, that this facility will be fully utilized because Diego Martin is one of the most populous areas in the country, and the location of this center makes it so easy for our people to come down from across the road, from across the hills, and to come up from the northern part and to come across from the west. And of course, the flat area here, they walk in from Diego Martin, from Diamond Vale into the center. This, I can tell you, will become one of the most utilized health facilities outside of the Port of Spain General Hospital in the country because the people anticipated it. They waited for it, and now that it is here, on their behalf, as I thank you, I know that I could speak for them saying that this facility would be cared for, will be appreciated, and will contribute to an improved quality of life for all the people of the general Diego Martin area, Diego Martin West, Diego Martin Central, and Diego Martin Northeast. Thank you very much for a well-done job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. I do remember the days of
We're going to divide the teams a little bit, please. So follow Roxanne, the media. We'll follow Roxanne.